Where are the coincidences and the flows and the synchronicity taking you, and where are they not? Well, just go with where they're taking you, and bingo, they'll take you somewhere. The thing is that we make the choice in the realms of expanded consciousness that the near-death experiencer was talking about, and we try to understand that choice whilst in the limitations of the lens, the body computer. So we say, oh, I'd never have agreed to this. I never chose this. Well, actually, you didn't choose that at that level of awareness that's saying you wouldn't choose it. A much more expanded level of you chose it. Now you have to understand why you chose it and get from it what you come to get from it. So collectively, why us? Why are we here and not other expressions of consciousness in this world called humans at the time that all this is going on? Same answer. You've already made the choice. Now you have to understand it. You didn't come here to make the choice. You've already made it. You're here to try to understand why you made it. Why are we here? Well, we're here, and the same point applies, of course. We made the choice to be here collectively and individually from that state of awareness, and we try to understand it from this state of awareness. And that's why the more we expand our consciousness while in the body, the more we start to understand why we made the choice, because we're starting to connect to that level that made the choice. And I would say we're here to help to break the spell. And on another level, we're here to experience this extraordinary time of epoch change. And within the virtual reality game, we're here to break the spell of programmed humanity and change the nature of the experience here in what we call Earth. And we're here to do it. I don't care if you sweep the streets or you work for the government. We're all here at this time because we chose to be here. And in this period coming up, as the control system throws its last desperate effort to hold on to its power, it will seem for a few years that it's actually getting more control. But it's the death throes. It will be a mistaken view that it's getting more power. It just appears to be. It's desperately trying to hold on to a control that is in the process of being removed. And in this period, we're going to face everything you can think of, everything they can think of to destabilize us emotionally and in all the other ways, whether it's vaccines, economic crashes, conflicts, whatever. And if we fall in this period into mind perception and five sense perception, it's going to be a very challenging time in this next little period as we go through this change. If we can hold the fact that we are consciousness having an experience, then going through these challenges is going to be far easier. There's a great line of freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. So many people are not free because they have something to lose, or they think they have. They have a big house, they have money or power or prestige. And because they fear losing that, they don't have the freedom to be themselves because they're fearful that they will lose it if they upset certain people by expressing what they really think, as opposed to being a clone of the people they're frightened of upsetting. And there's this proverb that says, just when the caterpillar thought life was over, it became a butterfly. And that's where we are in humanity now. We're breaking out of the caterpillar period, and we are starting to fly symbolically as we expand our awareness to realize who we really are. And I would emphasize this. It's not that this control system and this reptilian element or any of it is all powerful or omnipotent. They're not. Anything that wants power over and is in the fear that this control system mechanism is in, desperate not to be uncovered because of the consequences, then you are in a low vibrational state. You have a limitation of how far you can get out and connect with higher levels of perception, awareness, and potential. For that state of being to control humanity, they have to put humanity in a lower state of awareness than they're in. It's not that they're omnipotent and all-powerful and all-knowing. Are you kidding? Nothing that's all-knowing wants to do what they're doing. What they've had to do is put us in a smaller box by suppressing knowledge and all the rest of it we'll be talking about today. So when we awaken, we have the capacity to expand our consciousness, our awareness, because we don't want control over other people and all the things that the control system wants and is in fear of losing, and all the insecurities that come with that. So we can actually expand our consciousness in a way that the control system mechanism cannot. We can access levels of awareness, perception, understanding, insight, inspiration that they can't. And it's a real testament to our true nature of the amazing lengths they have to go to keep us under control, especially in this period as we're awakening. Our the natural state of a ball in a tank of water is to float on the top. To put it in an unnatural state, you have to push it down and hold it at the bottom. You can't then let go because it's boom in its natural state immediately. You have to hold it down there. Our natural state is infinite awareness. And so to hold us symbolically at the bottom of the tank, they're having to throw everything at us. Look at it. Programming through words, programming through education, programming and manipulation through food, through drink, increasingly chemtrails, HAARP, all the amazing explosion of things to hold us in an unnatural state. And it's just a matter of time before it's no use and will no longer work. This says, okay, I'm waking up, so what do I do now? Well, this is the first thing. Stop making excuses. All over the world, there's people that have woken up and they've seen that what's happening is not what they thought it was and not what they want it to be. But then they do nothing. They find excuses not to do anything. And if you awaken to seeing what's happening and do nothing, then don't complain when it moves on. It's like I find, the forums on the internet, there's some great work done on forums in terms of exchanging information. And on YouTube, there's some wonderful people around the world that put these packages together of interviews by people like me and others who are explaining it, and they put pictures to them and they put them out, and it's wonderful what they do to put these packages on different subjects for people and introduce them to the subject for the first time. But then you see people on conspiracy website forums who they can see what's going on to an extent, otherwise they wouldn't be there. But what do? They just hurl abuse at each other all day. It's like, okay, you know what's going on to an extent. What are you doing to make a difference? Well, I'll go on the forum under my login name, Bong Bong, and I'll say what I think. Bong Bong, yes, Bong Bong postings. I'm very famous on the forum. What do you mean you're very famous? Bong Bong doesn't exist. Why don't you use your own name, go out there under your own name and speak your truth? Well, I find that if you use your own name, people tend to know who you are. Exactly. And then somewhere else on the World Wide Web is another warrior stirring. I see that Bong Bong's at it again. I'm going to go on the forum under my login name, WooWoo2. Somebody already had WooWoo. And I'm going to give that Bong Bong a piece of my mind. Well, you can't give him a piece of something you don't have, mate, please. I mean, let's be fair. But you see this all the time on the internet. People just hurling abuse. I know more about this, I know more about 9/11 than you do. Tosser, idiot, Pratt, and all this business. And the control system moves on. And I can understand people who are closed to what's happening in the world, who do nothing. They don't think there's anything to do anything about. But those who have woken up to an extent and are still doing this rubbish, this self-obsessed nonsense and making no difference at all, because it's easy to do that. I'm Bong Bong there. No one knows who Bong Bong is. To go out and speak your truth and stand for what you believe in, that's different. And if the control system wants us to shut up, then we have to shout louder. That's how change comes about. Non-acquiescence. Human race, get off your knees. What are you doing down there? Your infinite awareness. What are you on your knees for? On your knees to politicians, to police state, to religions. What's going on? It's like Martin Luther King said, a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. And we need to stop bending our back. And I say this to these people in uniform, in the dark suits, in the administration of government, and in the uniforms of the military. You too have children and grandchildren that this control system is aimed at enslaving. What are you going to say to your children when they say, Mummy, Daddy, Granddad, Grandma, what were you doing when the control system came in? Well, actually, I was helping to bring it in, dear. I mean, and there's some people going to have to face that, but what we can do is say now, we're not doing it anymore. To withdraw from these uniform professions, or at least refuse to do things that we know are unjust and are about control and suppression and not about justice. And what's wonderful, I have to say, is that more and more people in the system are starting to break ranks. It's just starting to become evident. And so when they break ranks, the pyramids are in desperate trouble. Because this is what they want to do to our kids and our grandkids. And we can play a part in it, or we can stand up and say we're not having it. And this is like this says, join the army, vacancies available. I'm digging my own grave, but soon it will be your turn. What can we do when we start to wake up? We can stop joining the military and becoming a pawn in the control system's game of playing one military against another military to create change in the world that is designed to enslave the children and grandchildren of those that are shooting at each other. As Einstein said, the pioneers of a warless world are the youth that refuse military service. And they are the adults that support them in that. Instead of calling them cowards and all the rest of it, supporting them in anything but cowardice, which is standing up and saying we're not doing it anymore. There are some fantastic young people in Israel, Jewish kids, who are refusing to join the Israeli army by conscription, not conscription, by force, that then goes and does things to the Palestinians. They won't do it, and these kids are going to jail for periods for it. Fantastic. That's what makes a difference, not moaning. Know thyself. Know thyself. Fighting is mind. Consciousness doesn't pick up a gun and start shooting at another expression of consciousness. Mind does that. So anyone who thinks that fighting and violence is a way forward is in mind, not consciousness. What you fight, you become. It's the same with violent rebellion against the system itself. If you bring in a change through violence, you're just going to create another society that mirrors the one you've just removed. What you fight, you become. You see this all the time, where people fight a perceived injustice and use the same methods that the injustice is using. This sort of stuff is a meeting of mind. And the control system doesn't worry about protest to extent. Freedom fighters, that's a lovely one. Contradiction in terms. You don't fight for freedom, you express your freedom. You don't fight for peace, you peace for peace. That's how peace comes about. Cognitive dissonance, lying to ourselves. We fight for justice, we fight for peace. No, we don't. We fight to fight and create more conflict. Martin Luther King said, the limitation of riots, moral questions aside, is that they cannot win, and their participants know it. Hence, rioting is not revolutionary but reactionary because it invites defeat. It involves an emotional catharsis, but it must be followed by a sense of futility. Like I said, this is not about hating that which enslaves us. Otherwise, we become that which enslaves us. We have to meet it with a different energy to what it's putting out. Otherwise, we become what it is. And in terms of protests, you know, there was 1 million people on the streets of London protesting before the Iraq invasion, protesting against the invasion of Iraq. What did they do? They invaded Iraq. How many protests have there been about globalization? What happens? Globalization goes faster and faster and faster. And in so many ways, protests can be what I symbolized here, a steam whistle, a way of letting off steam and taking out anger from opposition, but nothing changes. They're not frightened of that. What they're terrified of is this: humanity coming together, putting down the irrelevant, manufactured fault lines of different religious beliefs and political beliefs and cultures and income brackets, and uniting behind something that affects us all. The fact that our basic freedoms are being withdrawn and are planned to be massively more withdrawn than they already have been. Because this is not a conspiracy to enslave Jewish people or Muslims or middle-class Americans or South African blacks. This is a conspiracy to enslave all of us, and therefore we all need to come together to be united behind what affects us all. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So often you see people, oh yeah, well that doesn't affect me. It's an injustice, yes, it doesn't affect me. Oh, that doesn't affect me, and that doesn't affect me. And then eventually it does affect you because of the process that you've allowed to happen by saying it's not my problem. It's like that pastor said in Nazi, or after Nazi Germany. He said, first they came for the Jews and I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. Then they came for the communists and I was not a communist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists. I was not a trade unionist, so I did nothing. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak out for me. And what's happening now around the world is they're picking off different sections. They're picking off the Muslims in this area and that area. They're picking off these people in this level and middle-class Americans and all that stuff. And everyone's going, it's not my problem. We'll leave them to it. If we are going to live in a just world and a free world, everyone else's injustice must become our injustice. And we must stand by other people, even though that we're not affected by it. As King said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And we all need to become each other's friend. Silence is consent. Can you hear us now? And it is. Silence is consent. This control system has reached its point that we're facing now because so many people have looked the other way and been silent. Enough. If you want to be free, then don't run and hide. This is why opening to consciousness and coming from the full understanding of the true nature of who we are, consciousness having experience, is so important, because then we don't run away and hide. Because, okay, you know, we lose our lives, fine, okay, and I've just gone from limitation to all those things the near-death experiencer talked about. I'm terrified. Not that they can do it, they can't, unless I allow it. Mahatma Gandhi said, strength does not come from physical capacity, but from an indomitable will. Isn't it amazing how you see extraordinary feats of physical bravery that soldiers do in Afghanistan in the Second World War. Amazing feats of amazing physical bravery, and yet they're terrified of saying boo to someone in a uniform with more stripes on their shoulder than they've got. Strange. But that's what we do. An indomitable will is not just a physical will, it's a, if you like, a moral will not to be acquiescent to authority just because it seems to have more power. As this Turkish saying says, a lion sleeps in the heart of every brave man and woman. The lion sleeps in the heart of everybody. It's just gone to sleep. Know thyself. What is there to fear when you realize your consciousness, infinite, eternal consciousness? You can look at this and you can be intimidated by it. Oh my God, look. These brainless people in uniforms with sticks, I'm terrified. Or you can do this. Eh? It's just a different perception of the same situation. The only way we can be controlled en masse is if we comply, to use this American word that keeps getting repeated, if we comply with what we're told we must do. If someone is in the parliament and they come out and they say, we've had a discussion and we've decided this is going to happen, if the people in enough numbers say, no, it's not, where's the power? The power is in acquiescence. Oh, well, I don't agree with it, but I suppose we better all do it. It's the law. Why? If it's unjust, if it's controlling, if it's suppressing. Because this tells the story, this. The pyramid, where do we look at in a pyramid for power? We look there at the top, where the eye is. Oh, there's the power in the pyramid. That's what we see in these structures. But look at it. They, few, are up there because these silly sods in vast numbers are here holding that up. When we walk out and say we're not complying with our own slavery any longer, there's a massive crash and that comes down. Because we, the people, are holding up the edifices of power that are dictated to us from the few, from the top. These edifices of power are nothing more than a house of cards, which we are holding together. When we say, I'm not holding this card together anymore, I'm not acquiescing with my own slavery, it's over. And change must take place, and that's what consciousness is going to bring. Simple example. In Britain today, they're fining people about £200 for putting their trash can out on the wrong day or in the wrong place. 200 quid. And what happens? People go, it's terrible. That's Big Brother coming in. I think it's disgusting. And the next thing is, what's on the TV tonight? Now, what if instead of moaning, thousands of people in that area put their wheelie bins, their trash cans out in the wrong place on the wrong day indefinitely until the law was changed? Doing it like that, the system couldn't cope. It can pick people off individually, yes, but together, we're not having this. They can't do it. We have the power. We've just given it away. This says your vote is your voice. Rubbish. If you've got the choice between voting for this mask on that face and that mask on that face, there is no voice and there is no choice. We're not going to change this politically. We're going to change this by ceasing to acquiesce and cooperate with the system that enslaves us. If we won't comply, no, the system can't function. That doesn't mean we don't comply with everything. There's lots of things that, okay, that's all right, we should do that, and it helps to organize society. But imposition, control, suppression, injustice, no. In California now, there are hundreds of thousands of people a month losing their homes. And let's take this round, shall we? Why are you losing your home? I can't pay the mortgage. I can't pay the bank. Why can't you pay the bank? Because there's been an economic depression and we've lost our jobs. Who caused the economic depression? The banks that are now taking your home away. And you're leaving? You're leaving? What are we doing? We face that injustice and we pack our bags and walk out. What if those hundreds of thousands of people a month who've been subjected to that in one American state alone said, we ain't leaving? We're not leaving because the people making us leave are the people that have created the reason we have to leave. The system couldn't cope. It can pick people off individually. It can get people to do it en masse when they just acquiesce. When we say we're not having it in any like numbers, this is why coming together is so important. The system is impotent. It has no power. You must have compulsory vaccinations. No, no, no. Not having it. Look what happened last year. All this hype about the swine flu. People said no. What happened? Nothing. What they wanted to do was not possible. Then they're trying to do it another way this year. You must do what we say, dark suits tell us. No. No, no. We will not acquiesce with our own slavery anymore. It's what I call the non-comply dance, where we dance to a different drum, we dance to a different beat. We're no longer little me taking it from this edifice of apparent power. We're deciding our own destiny, our own lives. I am all that is. You cannot grant me my freedom, nor can you take it away, because I am freedom. You in a dark suit think you can take my freedom away? Are you kidding? What would infinite consciousness do? What would infinite consciousness do in the situations we face? Well, this is what it would do. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. And you know what would change this world overnight, and this is where consciousness will come in and do this, is if we made decisions based not on this perceived what is right for us in the situations we face every day, but we said, what is right? What is the right, just and fair thing for me to do in this circumstance that I face? Because of the control system and the way we perceive and survival and me, what we're doing all the time in these situations, we're saying, what is the best thing for me here? What are the consequences for me? And so we're making decisions all the time, not based on what is fair and right and just, but what is best for us. And that's why we live in the world we do. If we change that and we say what is right and just and fair, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I might not make so much money as I would if I did what was right for me, the best for me. But it's right and it's just and it's fair. Society would transform. If we want a world of peace, we need to be peaceful. It sounds trite and simple, but it happens to be true. If we're all peaceful with each other, we're in a world of peace. If we're all kind to each other, then we're in a world of kindness. We have the power. You know, we complain about wars, and yet we argue and fight among ourselves, which is just an individual version of the collective thing we call a war. When we change, the world must change. This is why consciousness, the expansion of consciousness, is going to transform this world, because it's going to bring out a totally different perception and interaction and sense of values. As Martin Luther King said, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because it is right. And that's the consciousness shift that is going to change this reality from what it is to what it's going to become, and is becoming among many people. And it's a revolution of perception. The perception that says, hey, I am a lion. I'm not a lamb. I'm not little me. I'm something greater than I ever understood that I was. I'm not that. I'm that. I'm that. I am the lion, not the lamb. I have control over my own destiny. I will take that control. And when people do that, miracles become possible. Society cannot function as it has functioned so far when we shift our consciousness. There has to be a system failure in the vibrational, therefore digital, therefore holographic world. And we're being given the opportunity now with this truth vibrations, and as it moves on and it's getting quicker all the time, the quickening, to open the door, to open the lock, to open the key, to say, as the poet Shelley said, the English poet, rise like lions after slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep have fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. And when we realize that, and they've already realized it, that's why they're terrified of us waking up. When we say enough, no more slavery, no more little me, and we express the true magnitude of who we are, we'll realize the chains can be broken, because they weren't there at all, really. They were just chains in our mind, believing that someone had power over us when they didn't. It's time to fly. It is time to fly.
I can't go back, can I?
No. But if you could, would you really want to?